Hey, it's Heidi Dawson, and this is Wednesday Wisdom, where I interview wildly successful people from across the world, where we get an inside view into what their daily life looks like. Success leaves clues, and on Wednesdays, we're finding them. Join me now for the latest wildly successful interview. Hi, guys. Welcome to the 83rd episode of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. And today is Wednesday Wisdom, so you know I have someone fabulous on. And my guest today is the powerhouse CEO of Style Blueprint, Liza Graves. And this was just such a fun interview. I mean, Style Blueprint is one of the coolest lifestyle publications in the South. I mean, it has been identified as one of the fastest growing digital media companies in the South as well, with over 5.5 million readers in 2019. They get 30,000 page views a day, and their mission is really connecting women to their community, but a third of those listeners happen to be men, and I completely understand why. I mean, they highlight the coolest stores for fashion, jewelry, design, food, all the things that we love. So I'm super excited to welcome Liza Graves. Hi, Liza. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Heidi, for having me on.
So glad that you did. Tell us a little bit about Style Blueprint. In the intro, I talked a little bit about it, but tell us what it's like in the life of a CEO, a busy CEO of a thriving digital company. I mean, do you go into an office? Tell us a little bit about your day.
Oh gosh, well yes. So we started in 2009. I had a business partner at the time, and she stepped away a couple years ago. I mean, we started, of course, working from our homes, which I'm working from my home today, as are a bunch of people in COVID times. But we started working from an office, I guess, in maybe 2012 or 13, in a one of those shared spaces, and then went to, an office space after that. Now we have our own little house that's been converted into office space. So it's a commercial space, but it feels like a house. We have a fireplace and a kitchen, and it's very cute. I'm a big believer in just being in a space that inspires you. And when we were in our old office, it was very corporate, and we tried to make it work, but it just never really worked. And now it's just a great place to go to. So we're lucky to have that.
I love that. For me, I feel that when you said space is so important.
Yeah.
I am an interior designer by trade as well. And so I get that. And everywhere I go, I think about how it feels more than how it looks. I mean, it matters how it looks, but the feel is important. And you guys, with being I would imagine your employees are mainly women. Is that correct? Or
they are. We have one male employee. We've had in the past 3, but never at the same time. But
okay.
3. But yes, so our diversity play is a guy.
Yeah. Okay, good. Perfect. Well, we tend to, I feel as women, we love to feel nurtured and be nurtured and to nurture. And when you're in a home space, I would imagine it just feels so good to work in that.
It does. I mean, even last year at the holidays, we brought in a Christmas tree, and we put little names on all these paper stockings and hung them up. You walk into our building, and it's, building, it sounds like it's massive. It's like 1,500 square feet. But they have real doors, and it's a full-size refrigerator, and it has a back deck, and people can go out there. And you walk in, and we made one of the walls, we put kind of oversized boxwood, the faux stuff all over one wall, so you come in and you just have that punch of green color. I love green. But we have rugs in it's hardwood, so we have just rugs in every room. And again, we want it to be as cozy as possible, because you never know what someone's day is like at home. We want them to come in and feel their best.
So do you have pictures of that anywhere? I mean, I would love to see that.
Somewhere, yeah. I'll send you some pictures.
Okay, that would be awesome. I would love to see that. So now, on top of being a CEO, you're also a mother. And I talk a lot about morning routines because I think that they're important. And I've found that some people have them and some people don't. So as a busy mother and CEO of a thriving company, do you have a morning routine, or how do you balance work and
home?
I'll tell you what my aspiration is, and then I'll tell you the reality. How about that? I want to be the person that wakes up at 5 a.m. and goes for a run, comes back, takes a shower, has devotional time, and is sitting there drinking my tea, in quiet space and journaling. The reality is that never happens. My bed is way too comfortable. I really give in to sleep. So a few years ago, I thought that's the one thing I could control. And I do better off of 8 hours a night of sleep. I drink less caffeine. I do better. So now it's really hard for me to get in bed before 10 p.m. I wish I could be Oprah and go to bed at midnight and get up at 5. I read this one thing about her schedule. I thought, well, no wonder you get so much accomplished.
Right. That's incredible.
You're in bed you get 3 extra hours a day.
I know, but I can't function. I have to have 8 hours of sleep. I'm the same. So
I agree. I need it. So I wake up to NPR. So that's one thing that I've been doing for like 25 years. So National Public Radio.
Yes.
In Nashville, where I am, it's Nashville Public Radio. So NPR works for both. But I just like waking up to calm voices, hearing a little bit of national news going. I'm a storyteller by nature. I like hearing more in-depth stories. It's not all just current events. There's, other stuff that they talk about. I like the fact that it doesn't go to all these commercials that are really loud. It's just them talking. It's just a gentle way to wake up. I like that. I drink my coffee. I never turn the TV on. I don't sleep with a phone next to me. I have found that the gentler I can start my day, the better prepared I am for my day. But at our company, we start with a daily huddle. We do it at 9:17 every day, and we start working at 8.
9:17. Why
9:17? So because
there's got to be a story behind that,
right? If it's 9:15, everyone's going to be late, right? But if it's 9:17, you kind of remember, and people start popping up on there at 9:15. But then we can actually get started at 9:17.
Really a great idea.
Yeah. So make it like a weird, do your huddle at 8:26. It's like when you see the speed limit sign that says 7 miles an hour.
Yeah, you're like, oh, what? It triggers something.
It triggers something. Wow. So we start that every day. It lasts 15 minutes. We have 18 people. We go through what our priorities are for the day, what we're working on, what our top priority is, and then we have just a cheers. And then starting in COVID times, we went to 2 huddles a day. So then we have our second one at a more traditional time, 4:45. And at 4:45, we just wrap up the day and say everything that we've accomplished or that we still have yet to do. And the reason for that second one in the day was really when the world turned upside down. I wanted to see my people. I wanted to see what their voices sound like. I wanted to see what their eyes look like. So we get on Zoom. We don't do it, just hearing it. We are on Zoom. You have to have your video on. And it started off with just a temperature check. Yes. And it also started off because in the morning when we talked, we had no idea what the afternoon would be. We were really working hour by hour. And then it became where we could work day by day. And then we can plan 48 hours out. Then we got to plan a week out. Now on our editorial calendar, we're starting to plan January, which is more of a normal routine for us. But in March and April, we were changing what we'd be writing the next day, hours before.
Right. So true. No wonder you're so successful. That sounds really like it sounds like you are really in touch with not only your employees, but also with the atmosphere of the world and, locally, nationally, everything, which is so nice because, I know a lot of people probably felt isolated during that time, but the companies that really made their people feel still part of the crowd, still part of the community, I'm sure that did so much. So I work by myself. So I'm at home and I can imagine, I like to be around people. So I can imagine other people are that way too.
Oh, 100%. It was hard on a couple of people in our team that live by themselves. That was really hard for them. And we would get feedback from our readers too about, could you please start talking more about people who are living by themselves? And, it was just, a strange time.
I know. I'm so glad that we're kind of, it seems like we're in Tennessee. You're in Nashville, right?
Mm-hmm. So Tennessee.
So we kind of are easing more. I have friends that In fact, I just did an interview with a guy from California, and they're still, pretty hardcore there. So we'll see how everything works out. But okay, so now Style Blueprint started out as a blog, right?
It did. It started off as a blog, but it was during, well, I want to say similarly challenging economic times, although I don't know what's similar to today, because some businesses are just taking off like crazy and others are not. Ours, it was, the financial collapse of 2008.
Right.
And we saw all these small businesses. And this was, before it was like cool to like say shop local, embrace local. Those like, there was no social media, and like, I don't even know if the term maker existed. So, like it's crazy to think what happened 12, 11 years ago.
Nuts. Yeah.
So we saw all these places closing in town in Nashville. And my business partner and I, we were like, we'd like to do something to help keep them open. And Nashville had started to kind of take off, but not like how it's taken off at this point. And we knew that we weren't going to make any money at it. And we said, let's just try to plant some seeds, though, that we could make this into a business down the road. So we definitely went into it with the mindset of, let's treat this bigger than it's just our own personal blog. Yes, we definitely did. But we were buying like the book, Blogging for Dummies. Like we didn't know what we were doing,
right?
But we could write. And so we just started writing. And something that really got under our skin was when people would say, not lots of people, but enough people, I feel like if you have, if you've got a lot of money in your bank account, then spend it local, right?
Right.
And we would run into people who weren't as affected by the economy, and they would say stuff like, well, I just have to travel to Atlanta to shop, or well, I'm going to Chicago this weekend because I just need to go shopping. I can't find what I need in Nashville. And I'm not saying that Chicago and Atlanta do not continue to eclipse Nashville in the shopping scene. They do. But Nashville's not a bad place to shop. It's actually a pretty good place to shop.
It is. I agree.
Yeah. So when they would say that, and we're like, dang, have you taken a look around Nashville? Like, have you opened up the doors and gone into these places that are in your community that desperately need your dollar? So we just started writing about them because we thought, the biggest challenge a small business owner has, and I've owned a restaurant before, so I know this. I was like, if I can just get someone to walk in my door and eat my food, they are coming back. Like I was 100% convinced of that, right? So if you're a small business, retail, restaurant, hair salon, any of it, you're like, just give me the chance.
Yeah, just come in.
Just come in. So our whole point was to open the doors to all these places in town so that people felt like they'd been in, or they felt like they had the permission to go in. I think social media has helped with that a lot today, but at the time, without that, it was, well, I don't know that place. Is it worth my time to go in? Now people love to go to something new because they want to put it on their social media, like, ooh, I went into the new place. That did not exist at the time. And that's kind of the space that we filled. And then from there, because the economy was bad, Groupon became a really big thing in America. And everything from, I think the Wall Street Journal down was saying, this is the best thing for local business since sliced bread, Groupon. Because of course you don't have to pay up front. They split it with you. And we were boots on the ground here in Nashville, and we were running into business after business that said, worst thing I ever did was that Groupon. Yeah. It's killing me. I sold so many of them, and I sold let's say a $40 coupon for $20, which means you get to come in and spend, with that $20 you spent, you get to buy $40 worth of product. And they were like, they're only spending $40. They're not spending $1 above. And we have a lot of people who are not our typical customer. They're coming in from all over to save $20. We're never going to get them back in the door. Where typically, if you get someone in the door, what we were just talking about, you just get them in the door once, you got them.
So true. So true.
It was terrible. So we said, we can do a better Groupon. Right. So that was the first revenue. So we said, you know what? We'll call it the Style Blueprint deal. We white labeled the idea, and we made it far more advantageous for the business to partner with us. So we gave them a bigger split. We paid them faster. We did not We didn't say you have to sell thousands of these things. We didn't put 5 out a day. We put 3 out a week. And we guaranteed them that they would always be bookended with similar quality businesses. And then the reader knew that we were vouching for that business. So they felt like it was a safe thing to buy. So that was our first, money maker. And we just got rid of the deal this year. I mean, it was good for 10 years.
Right.
But it kept going down and down because, people buy them, they don't use them, and they're like, I don't want to buy them anymore.
Yeah, we won't do it again. So they're not repeat.
Right. So, I mean, there were enough people that were repeat, but it wasn't enough it's a hard business to be in. There's a lot of customer service. It's just hard.
Right.
And we got to the point where we said, well, we're going to keep it because if the economy goes down, it's just a huge, it can like ramp up really quick. But we never anticipated the economy turning down for small business in an atmosphere where people were scared to go out and shop.
Right.
So we were like, we can't put our company, because we lost tons of money this year. We can't put our company on the line by having all these people we're partnering with. What if they go out of business? And then,
what? You're going to have to cover for that.
Yeah, even though it says that we don't on the rules, we still did. Someone would complain, we'd still refund their money. But when we refunded someone's money, we had already paid the company their split. Wow. And then, so we're like out a lot of money at that point. And it's not just like it's a break-even deal. We're like in the rears big time.
You don't think about that. So someone like me who is not involved in all of this, I know what Style Blueprint does because I read it every single day. So but I never would have thought about that. But that is definitely something, the hardships that you guys have been through, not only the small businesses, but you guys as a publication doing the same. That sounds like that could be really bad.
Yeah, it could. So it just kind of got to be like an unhappy space for us.
Right.
So we got rid of it during a year where, media companies are all struggling and we don't take political advertising. So it's not like we could be like a traditional media company and say, that's okay. Because we've got all this money coming in from campaigns. We're going to make up for it with that. Yeah. We weren't able to take advantage of that. We don't want that on our site.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Not in this craziness. Okay, we won't. Yeah. Okay. So then the stores that you do choose, and I can vouch for this, which is why I was so excited to be able to interview you, is because I really can vouch that every single store I've ever ventured into because of Style Blueprint has been fabulous, and the things that you find are really fun. In fact, this ring that I have on right now,
let's see. Oh, pretty. Is that a Elizabeth Locke?
It is not Elizabeth Locke, but there was a jeweler, Peter Poole, in Memphis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're no longer, unfortunately. That was kind of tragic what happened there. But I found them through Style Blueprint.
Yeah, they were an advertiser of ours.
Yes, they became a really, really big our favorite place to get jewelry. So my husband knew always he could go in there and get jewelry, but that was from Style Blueprint. So
I love to hear that.
Yeah. So it was a really fun story. So then how did you go? How do you go about picking the stores? Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, there's no formula to it really. It becomes something where we try to be out in the community and we try to go in and just be like, wow, this is great. We hire people that have a similar viewpoint as far as style viewpoint, right? And that they say, oh, no, it doesn't matter if there's if that ring, well, if we were showing a beautiful ring that were like $50 or a beautiful ring that were $7,000, well, Style Blueprint can carry both of those. We've had for $300,000 on our site before, but we're not putting it out there like, so, go get this for your wife's birthday.
Just run out and grab that.
It's more like, well, for the people who really have the ability.
Wow, yeah.
So it's really about the way we frame it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So we have really nice stuff that we feature on Style Blueprint, but we try to frame it in a way that is not exclusive, but if you
Right.
can't afford it, it's aspirational.
No, yeah, absolutely. It goes anywhere from like $50 to, like you said, thousands. And that's perfect because sometimes you're in the market, maybe at Christmas you're in the market for something a little more expensive, but during, like during the week when you're like, I just really want to find something, kind of fun. Oh, I saw this thing on Style Blueprint. I'm going to go run there and check that out because I haven't seen it. So that's perfect. And I think you guys nail that. Now let's talk a little bit about the business side of when you kind of got started, because I have entrepreneurs that sort of listen as well. So I read that it took, and you can correct me, but I read that it took 18 months to get 1,000 page views in one day.
Yeah, that's about right. I remember that night actually. I remember our first story. It was about when Pure Barre came to town. And we got 600 page views on this one story that I wrote. And we were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It was like, oh my gosh. And it was because I went and took a class and we write in a conversational way. And I still
Right.
remember that article because I was writing about how I wanted to cuss out butterflies during the class because it's so hard that it's like, you can't even think like unicorns and butterflies to get through it because you're trying to cuss them out because it hurts so bad. And she was swamped from that article. Her business stuff.
I love it. That is hilarious. Just people are like, I can relate. I really want to feel that way.
Right.
Yes, and I do agree. Sometimes Pure Barre is, oof.
It's hard. And this was before there were a lot of other bar places. So this was the first, Pure Barre has a special place in the bar world.
Right.
Bar method took off in other areas of the country. I know it came here after Pure Barre, but we were the first. And so we were just explaining what it's like to work out a muscle to the point of fatigue and beyond, which most people weren't familiar with at the time. But anyway, so then a few months later, we were just doing a rebrand on the site and getting our first kind of more professional look. And we had a little tally or something that we were watching that, because I don't think it was Google Analytics. Who knows what it was? But I remember staying up that night because I'm like, I'm going to see it go over 1,000 page views.
I love it. Yeah.
And it was so exciting, but it did take 18 months. And for a solid year of that, we had been writing every day, 5 days a week. So it wasn't like, and I remember talking to someone who had a successful blog and they were like, oh, you'll get to where you have thousands of page views a day within a few months. And I think people say that and they don't realize how belittling it is because, a lot of people don't get to that. Maybe you have that one piece that goes viral. And usually that's more of an opinion piece or something like moms can relate to moms or something like that.
Right.
That doesn't happen for a lot of people. You have to work really, really hard. And I think the lightning in the bottle to expect that is super discouraging.
Right. It is almost gives unfair expectations. And I know for me with my podcast, I've been doing it. I actually started my podcast at the beginning of COVID.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that new.
Yeah.
That's a great job. Yeah.
Yes, it's new. And so, but I started out, I didn't realize it was I didn't realize it was going to be about that, because I planned for probably a year. I knew I was going to do it because it was something that was in my heart. And so anyway, long story short, yeah, it's when you kind of see okay, 2 people are listening. And I think it's my husband and my sister, and then it grows and then it kind of grows and people share or whatever. So that's hard. And when people, if they get this sort of, I don't know, disappointed or rejected, you feel but just keep going. And I think that was the key for you, is that it would have been easy to go, hey, they said I was supposed to get thousands of page views and everyone else gets that but me. And that's not true, and
it's not true. And you know what? It's so funny because today, COVID has hit us. Our page views are down because we don't have the same amount of people, looking to feed a crowd,
right.
looking to dress to go to an event. There's some of our things, but our core is there. All that to be said, there are some ways when we had 600 passionate people all within the same zip code that did everything we said that they should do. could in some ways be more impactful than we are today on some businesses, right? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is if you have a group of people who are just avid followers and they just that is really powerful, and now we get to affect more people and more businesses and really do things on a like a much bigger level. But what I mean by that is when you're just starting out, there's like a beautiful magic thing there that people don't necessarily take the time to realize, because when you're bigger and a lot of people know about you, well, it's not like the secret anymore that people are like, oh, this is my own special thing, you know? So
Right. Right.
if
There's
you're
that
not making money, then
novelty.
it's someone's
Yeah.
own special secret thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, you have certainly, you make it look easy, but I know that it hasn't been. I know that you've overcome challenges because that's just how it goes in business. So what challenges have you overcome that you could share with us that, I mean, even maybe when you just first started out, and we may have just touched on them.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many challenges. Every day has its challenge. There's challenges of the way that you look at yourself. There are challenges about the way that you think others are perceiving you. There are challenges with your business structure. There are growth challenges. When we really started growing, I was like, why don't we have any money? And it was, I did not understand because I didn't go to business school. And I think business school a lot of times doesn't prepare you for entrepreneurship anyway. But that growing businesses eat cash.
Right.
Like, once you have to start paying, for your space and employees and healthcare, which was like one of the greatest days of my professional career when we could start offering healthcare. And, all of a sudden it's just every platform we use, well, there's a user fee per person in our company. It just adds up and it becomes really expensive. And
Right.
so I'd be like, well, we've grown by like 30%. Why is my profit down? Well, you have to step back and say, because I'm investing in the company,
That's
but
right.
you also have to have a plan to get that margin back up, So I would say one of the biggest lessons learned, one is to have a really good bookkeeper. Um, not have your books get messed up ever, which is going to happen. Your books are going to get messed up. So don't feel ashamed for that. But like that has to be a priority. But always understand your margin versus growing the company. And you want to get back to that strong margin, but sometimes you're not going to have a margin that year because you're investing it all. Like right now, we're redoing our website. That is so expensive. We have like 13,000 pages on there. And we've culled a bunch of stuff. We still have 13,000 pages, and we've
Wow.
got to create this new website and not lose a drop of SEO. That's so scary. And that means you're not paying the cheap company.
No, you're not. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my
But that
word.
comes from having a profit. That's not like that goes in my pocket. That goes into the business, because that is what helps our company continue to grow, that feeds 18 people whose salary depends on it, and also feeds all these advertisers who we have who know that they get results from us. We have to exist. And to exist, you have to put all this money back into your company.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, I think that all that's great advice though, because financials. You consider yourself a creative, right?
I do. I have this weird ability. I can flip back and forth. Like I have people who just don't get my brain because they're like,
I'm gonna say I agree with that. I would say for me, like I am a creative, and I'm not quite as business savvy as it sounds like you are, because to me it sounds like you're working on both sides of the brain.
I work on both sides and I can flip pretty quickly
Okay.
with that. And that is very helpful.
It is.
But it's also, I do have my happy points and I would rather be much more creative. But I will say that when I go into that creative space and that's what I'm really putting out there, I start to then worry where are the details,
Right.
So
Right.
it's not my happy point to sit down and do details. It's not at all. But if I don't have that understanding, I can't let my brain be free enough to be creative, if that makes
Is
sense.
that something that you kind of make yourself do? Do you have meetings with your bookkeeper? Is that something that you kind of have to make yourself
Every week.
every week? Okay, that was my question. Now
I have standing meetings and I work better with standing meetings because I know how to make my day. Now, what I'd love to do is have all my standing meetings in the afternoon because I'm more creative in the morning, but my calendar is flipped. My meetings are in the mornings. So that's something that the next 2 years I'd like to work on.
That's your goal, is to work to flip them where you're able to be creative in the morning.
Like maybe start at 10, just give me 2 hours in the morning to dive deep and not have to worry about stopping.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's all really interesting. I mean, I liked what you said, because it rings very true. Growing businesses eat cash.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I can see that. And other entrepreneurs that I've talked to say the same thing, but don't get scared by that, because
right.
That's what it's by design, it's supposed to do that.
It's supposed to, but no one tells you that. I feel like that should be like something that like maybe people talked about. And where though, right?
I know. That's what I was going to say. In business school, not really, because
really?
Like you said, entrepreneurship, for me, I've always been an entrepreneur, but it's sort of, it doesn't necessarily go hand in hand with having business sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I will say on that, like, just to plug somebody who I think does a good job.
Okay.
There's a company, they're actually based in Nashville, but they have a national reach, called Story Brand, and it's Donald Miller. And he has this Business Made Simple University.
Oh, okay.
And it's pretty, I think it's pretty cheap. So for a year, I think it's $299. And they put all these courses in there. And what I love about it is it's not like each course, they're like, so now for another $299, you can get this course. You love that one so much, for $599, we're going to give you this. And
you're likely to get caught in that.
Yeah. And you're like, I don't even have time to read all this, right. But you're like, but I got to get it, because they're saying, only for 48 hours. And so I love this Business Made Simple University. They create all these courses. They just put it in there. As long as you're a member of it, you have to pay every year. You get access to all of it. And it really is about how to run your business and run it well for people who are running their business. It's not about all this other stuff out there where you have to worry about, the global economics. This is about running your business, having a clear message. It doesn't talk about every single thing, but like the broad points, I think it is a bargain, and I think every entrepreneur should buy it. And I think that they should be listening to Donald Miller's weekly podcast. And then he does this thing where he sends a 5-minute video. Like, once you sign up you can sign up for his videos without being a part of Business, University, Made Simple University. And it's just a 5-minute video every morning that just touches on an aspect of business or personal growth. And they're just really strong. And I will say that I think that it's great, because again, if you're not around people who have experienced all the bad stuff in entrepreneurship and are talking about it, because a lot of people don't, you're not going to learn. He puts it all out there in a way that's very digestible. And I think after a year of anyone listening to his stuff, you're going to be a better business person. You are going to run your business better. It doesn't mean you can still do it all, but what it means is that you can at least understand what you can't do.
Understanding hire for it. He has a book, Story Brand, right?
He does. Story Brand.
I think I have it. That, shame on me, I haven't read it yet, but now I'm gonna have to go find it and read it.
It's great. He came up with another one this spring called Marketing Made Simple, which I also recommend. Anyway, I think they do a great job.
Thank you for that. That's wonderful. I think people really benefit from that. I'll put that in the show notes for everybody listening, just so you're not, if you're driving, don't write it down.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have this question that I've recently added, and I know we run long because I love talking to you. But in my opinion, one of the happiness is the key to a wildly successful lifestyle, in my opinion. I think if you can have everything, but if you're not happy, are you successful? So I'm asking you, like, I've started asking people what truly makes them happy. So is it something that truly deep down, like, this is what makes me happy?
Yeah, it's going to sound weird. I feel like when I say it, that it, like, maybe it's like a bad thing, but I love making other people happy, and that makes me happy. And so what I mean by that is, when we can, like at Style Blueprint, if we can write an article and it changes someone's business, and and they're like, you don't understand what this did for me. Like for so long, when I personally wasn't making money, that was my payment. And I felt so enriched by that,
Yeah.
my employees, like when they say, you don't understand how much this team means to me and what's been built here, that makes me to my core so happy. So I can say cooking and listening to music while I'm cooking and drinking a glass of wine. I love doing all of that, but I would far prefer to do that after a day where I know that I like what we've put out into the universe has had an impact.
That's beautiful. I think I have goosebumps because that I can absolutely feel that is the truth, and I think you do it well. I really do. I mean, I can tell you that just from what I read, I think you probably do that with all of your each city. I think has a touch of you in it. You know.
Well, that's our overall mission. I've given like some keynote speeches on mission, and our mission statement isn't anywhere on our website, but our company knows the mission, and the mission is to have a positive impact on the world. So that's why it's really easy. We would have more page views if we said this is the #1 restaurant not to eat at in Memphis.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone would click on that, right? This is the restaurant with the lowest health score in Memphis this week. But I don't know that that's adding anything positive into the world.
No, it actually feels, it
Yeah.
brings the energy way down and it's not what you're about.
Yeah, so we're not a Pollyanna publication. We're not out there and we're just going to speak nice on everyone. But what we're doing is we're choosing the positive stories. So, for example, if we went into some store and just had this terrible experience, we don't go out and write about it. Like, oh my gosh, it's like the person on Facebook that really just has to talk about everything negative in their life. We're just not going to write about it. Like, let's just find something good to write about.
I'm sure that something good happened in that store. I promise you.
But we can just like go to another store, like it's okay. So at the end of the day, I just feel like, we know that if we are making people a little bit happier about the place that they are blooming in, and that it's like the little butterfly wings, that little bit of impact, and we have, 125,000 email subscribers, and we've got 5 million people a year that read us. If we are providing happiness where they don't even realize like that it's this positive impact every day, but they're reading it because they feel better, well, then they're going to be nicer, and then and we fundamentally believe in that big aspect of what we do.
You are impacting the world in a positive way, and that's something I think that adds value, and it doesn't. For me, I write in my journal every single day. James Clear, have you read Atomic Habits?
You know what? I think my husband has that book, but I've not read it. But I've heard him talk about it.
Okay, yeah, it's so good. And I follow him on Instagram, and he put something out that said something about what do you want? Like he journals every day something that he wants. And so I started doing that. It's so interesting the things that come out. And one of them that generally I want to make a positive impact on the world, and that's in a positive way, and whatever that is. And so I think that's beautiful that that's your mission. And so I have one more question, and then I want to find out how everyone gets Style Blueprint in their inbox if they don't have it already. So if you could, what advice would you give to yourself when you were just starting out?
If I, not to miss as many days at the pool with my kids as I did.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah.
I went like a whole 2 summers and I never went to the pool with my kids. I just worked all the time. Yeah. I just felt the pressure of getting this thing launched. And I look back at that and, hey, it worked. But I think it still would have worked if if I could have just maybe removed myself for a few hours a day or done something where I was I don't know. I wish I hadn't been as distracted around them for a couple of years.
Well, that is beautiful, and I'm sure that they'll appreciate hearing you say that. So,
And also to find a good bookkeeper at the beginning.
right, for
Mhm.
sure, a good
Yeah.
bookkeeper.
Mhm.
That's so
Well,
true.
we say that.
I
We
know.
were not so lucky.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Well, you know what? It caused you to get a good one.
Yes.
Sometimes that contrast, it makes it even better when you get a good one. All right. So how do people get Style Blueprint into their inbox if they don't already have it?
So if you go to styleblueprint.com, then there's a, sign up here and you can do that. You could also just Google Style Blueprint sign up
Okay.
and it'll pop up.
Awesome. All right. Well, I will put that in the show notes, and I'll also put these other things that we talked about in the show notes so everybody will have that too. And this has been so much fun. I knew it would be because
Thank
you're
you.
amazing and your company is amazing, and I congratulate you on all of that. So, and
Oh, well, you don't understand how much that means to hear that from you. So thank you so much.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.